And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 15 of the Druids Dozen, where, I introduce myself. My name's John. I'm also known in certain circles as the Rock Druid. Not a name I gave myself, it was a title thrust unto me by a certain radio station manager. But basically, I'm a radio DJ. I do a couple of radio shows. I do the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM radio in Bristol, 93.2 FM. And I do the Rock Druid show on astroradio.earth. And basically, this is just me killing an hour or so on a Saturday afternoon, waving some albums in front of a camera and chatting about them. I have a large collection, and I selected 12 at randomish for you. And so let's just pass straight in with what we've got. Starting always with a bit of vinyl. We'll have this one. Oh, nearly forgot the bins. Bins on. Right. We'll start with this one. There is the front. There is the back. This is Ezio, or Ezio. I don't know. I've never had worked out how to pronounce this band's name. And then on the you've got lyrics on the inner sleeve here. Now, Ezio were part of that. Those of you that remember these things, remember there was a bit of a kind of 80s kind of bit of a kind of explosion in Japanese metal coming out, or at least metal and hard rock out of Japan that was reaching Western ears. I'm talking about bands like was it Loudness, Tsunami, Bauhaus, depending on how you want to put what territory you're listening in. And so this lot, Ezio. Now I can't tell you a great deal of background about these guys. I do know that they were picked up by Gene Simmons, who kind of discovered them. Whether they discovered them in the States or in Japan, I don't know. But Gene Simmons kind of took a great interest in them and co-produced this, which I believe is their debut album. Now, this lot are great. I don't know, it's thinking man's metal. It's these are a kind of step beyond your average riff and bludgeon merchants. These are these have got a sort of lot of sophistication and depth to their sound. They got a fantastic stage image, looking at something out of one of these, what's that, the Great Glow Up, whatever it is we have in the UK, I don't know, my missus is into it, the stage makeup competition. But starting image, and the music's great as well. This album, like I said, I believe this is their debut, 9-tracker. Got cuts on here like The Destroyer, Mr. Midnight, Kiss of Fire. Slightly reminiscent of The Cult, maybe, Kingdom Come, bands like that. However, the opening cut on here is the real killer. If there's one track worth getting this album for, it's the opening cut, House of a Thousand Pleasures. It's a slow, dark, intense kind of riff-driven track that's got this, I don't know, the riff itself is kind of like very infectious. It's but played in a kind of very dark, menacing kind of vibe. And it's a song about kind of, I think it's about sadomasochism, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's all about when I play the game, I like to feel the pain, etc. House of a Thousand Pleasures. Yeah, anyway, corking album. The availability of which at the moment, I wouldn't like to guess that. Ezio did go on to produce another couple of albums after this. I haven't heard them, I'll be honest with you. It's the only album I've got by them, but yeah. This is great, and I really do mean to go and check out some of their other albums. They did at least 2 others, because this one's been a favourite of mine for years. Yeah, Ezio, eponymous debut album, and this came out in 1987. Wow. Okay, next up, jump onto the CDs, and we'll have this one. There's the front, there's the back. This is Imaginary Horse by German band Picturebooks. There's the inner thing there. Got sort of like a bit of a lyric sheet, only a semi-lyric sheet. I don't think there's tracks for everything on, lyrics for everything on here. And as I've shown these before in the past, this is a promo sheet. It's kind of band biog. You can fold it like that, you can pause it and have a read should you require. Now, this lot, German duo, strange experimental rock duo. Well, I say strange, they're kind of just an experimental rock duo. Came out of, I can't remember exactly where these guys are from again. I should have noticed when I read this out. No, I don't say exactly where these guys are from, but basically these guys met as kind of young teenagers in their local skate park while they were out skateboarding, became good mates and eventually formed a band. In the meantime, they developed an interest in motorcycles, not just the riding of, but the construction and repair and customization thereof. And basically, by day they have a large shed or garage or somewhere in Germany. By day, it's full of motorbikes being fixed. Overnight, the machinery is dragged to one side and they set up and use it as a rehearsal room and recording studio. Now, the interesting thing about this lot, the drummer isn't your standard, you know, big drum kit type thing. He's more of a percussionist. I saw these guys, I interviewed these guys a few years ago when they were touring the UK with The Answer, and incredible setup the drummer had. Just no cymbals, just loads and loads of different toms and percussions and bongos and things I wouldn't even know the name of. Whilst his mate just kind of riffed away on the guitar, kind of White Stripes with an interesting drummer rather than that what's her name, woman? Yeah, but anyway, incredible band with an incredible sound as a result of this experimentation on the percussion side and that. This is their 3rd album. They did a couple of independent releases before this, and then this one came out on Riding Easy Records. Cracking track. The title kicks off the title track, The Imaginary Horse. Other highlights include Elizabeth, The Rabbit and the Wolf, Woman, Tears of Gold. I can't read back here writing. Make It Last, Fever. Every track's a bit of a winner. I've had a couple of albums out since this, which are equally as good, but this is the one that I dragged out for you today. And you know, they're still ongoing, still still touring. Well, they will be when lockdown's over, so you have the chance to check them out and do so. They are very impressive. One of the most interesting bands on the circuit in Europe at the moment, as far as sound wise, and a couple of really nice guys as well. So yeah, second one today, Imaginary Horse by Picturebooks. Okay, now this one next. Bit of a classic in my opinion, and not just for the incredible Rodney Matthews artwork. This is No Mean City by Nazareth. There's the front. There's the back, and yeah, this is the Castle Classics repress rather than the original. So, because I think the original had a fold-out gatefold sleeve and an inner sleeve and that kind of thing with it, but I say this is just a reissue. So yeah, 1990 Castle Communications reissue this one. So I'm so I can't show you how it originally was, but I know that if you look on the net you can find it. Now, Nazareth, classic Scottish band. Yeah, Manny Charlton and Zal Cummins and all that lot, and Dan the distinctive Dan McCaffrey on vocals, one of the most distinctive kind of vocalists you'll ever find, and a string of great albums throughout the 80s. Began to lose momentum a bit in the 90s, in my opinion, into the 80s, sorry. But you know, they did some corking albums throughout the 70s, of which this, one of my favourites. I mean, you know, I can't discount things like albums like Show No Mercy, Razum and Nad's Hair and the Dog, etc. But there's something about this that I just really love. You've got one of their sort of like lesser known hit singles on here, Star, tracks like Claim to Fame, Just to Get Into It, Made of Sunshine, Simple Solution. But then you got the closer, about 8 minutes worth of No Mean City parts 1 and 2. Song based on a book about Glasgow, sort of like 60s street gangs and razor fights, and yeah, Glasgow was a pretty tough city when these guys were growing up, and they kind of the No Mean City track reflects it. And yeah, cracking, amazing song, got a riff to die for. Some of Dan McCafferty's best vocals, Manny Charlton's guitar work is to die for, and overall it just rounds out a pretty good album overall and makes it a killer. Yeah, not much more to say about that. Again, fantastic Rodney Matthews artwork, one of his most popular images. Although I've met Rodney Matthews and we were chatting about his album covers, and he said this is one of his least favourites. Maybe because he's quite a nice sort of mellow bloke and he doesn't like the kind of implied violence. But hey, yeah, you see, he drew it, he can make his own conclusions. But personally, I love it. And there's the back again, just to continue the image. Yeah. So Nazareth, No Mean City, corking album, and if you're not got into Nazareth, a good place to start. Okay, next up, oh yeah, this is a odd one. Now, this is either, I still can't work out whether this album here is forgive me, either really, really well known or just a real cult obscurity. Because I know a lot of people with this in their collections, but it doesn't ever seem to get much publicity, and there's not a great deal of information knocking about it. But anyway, there's the front. This is an Electric Storm by White Noise. There's the back. And I said, this originally came out in 1969. Obviously, this is a more recent CD issue. And yeah, there's just a bit of a track listing, a little few sleeve notes, and then right now this lot band project, I don't know. Basically it was, I'll try to think of the guy's name. He says forgetting. David Bauhaus. Now, Dutch guy, living in London and working for the BBC at the Bauhaus studios in the famous radiophonic workshop. Yep, that place where they invented all the Doctor Who sounds and basically soundtracked every BBC TV series for about 35-40 years, starting in the 1960s. But so this David Bauhaus guy was working there during the day, but of a night he was kind of it mentions in here in the sleeve notes here about kind of slipping security guards a few quid or a couple of beers to look the other way, and dragging a couple of mates in and using the BBC radiophonic equipment as for his own little project that became white noise. It's a strange one. You've got a couple of, you know, My Game of Loving and Here Come the Fleas and Firebird, or Hidden Dreams as well, are almost like songs. They're you know, they have verses, they have choruses, they have lyrics. There are some strange noises in the background that go pinky ponky ponk, but overall it's, you know, they're songs. But then you've got The Visitation, which is a 11.5 minute soundscape, but while it was being recorded, they contacts of theirs were leaking stuff to Island Records, and they got themselves a deal with Island. And basically Ireland wanted so many minutes for the album, and these guys were short by about 6 minutes. So they went back in there, and in one night they kind of did a improvisation called Black Mass, an Electric Storm in Hell, which is one of the most screwed up, weirdest, freak out, kind of Orwellian nightmares of a soundscape you can think of. An incredible track. And I was only listening to this the other day before when I dragged this out for this week's show, and it still drops my jaw listening to it. You know, no wonder that bands from like Hawkwind to Pink Floyd to some of the krautrock bands like Amon looked upon this as a hugely influential album on their sounds, and the way it pushed forward the kind of whole synth rock, prog rock, acid rock, whatever rock you want to call it, development. Great. They did a couple of others after this, which I've not heard of. I've heard of them, but I've not actually never got around to listening to them. So where they went after this album, I don't know. But, you know, who cares? You know, White Noise left behind an Electric Storm. What's there more to say? Amazing record. That if you like kind of real off the wall stuff, should be in your collection. Okay, next up we'll have a bit of vinyl. We're going to go prog rock again. And we'll have this. This is The Duel, the first full-length album by Pendragon, band out of Swindon in the UK. I've just seen the front, there's the back. Scrawled on by Nick Barrett, the guitarist. Don't think there's anything in here as well, no. What's this? Oh, fully signed. Ah, a ticket. Admit one to the Beer Keller in Bristol, sadly defunct venue, to see Pendragon. And there's no date. But anyway, that would have been a couple of years after this. This album's 85, and I first saw these at the old Granary Club. And I think that was a tour in 915 Live, where that ticket's from. But anyway, I digress. Pendragon, band out of Swindon in the UK. Very much kind of centred around the guitarist vocalist Nick Barrett. Other people have come and gone over the years, but Nick Barrett's the ever present. I would say the Dave Brock of Pendragon, but you know, Nick Barrett's a really nice guy. This is their first full-length album. They did a independently released 4-track mini album, Fly High, Fall Far, came out a year or two before this, and this one came out in 85. Now these guys were part of that, I hate the term neo-prog, it sounds so far up its own backside. Yeah, that prog rock revivalism that ran in parallel with the new wave of British heavy metal, along with bands like IQ, Meridian, Palace, It Bites, Multi-Story, etc. But anyway, they released this, and you know, I've got most of the Pendragon albums I've done since, but again, this is the one I always return to. It's not a flawless album. Higher Circles, the opening cut, and the single off it, these days sounds a bit clunky. Lyrics don't scan particularly well. Yeah, The Pleasure of Hope again's a bit of a, I don't know, doesn't really do a great deal for me musically. But on the other hand, you've got tracks like The Alaska, Circus, O Divinio, and the closer, the epic Black Knight. Still my favourite Pendragon track. And a thing that, yeah, Pendragon is still going, and Black Knight is still in their live set to this day. An epic, say 10 minutes, kind of a poetic, very poetic piece about a warrior in black armour that's suffering in the heat, but it's his curse and his, yeah. I can't remember the exact lyrics, and I don't know exactly what Nick Barrett was thinking about when he wrote it, because he can be quite esoteric, Mr. Barrett, at times. But overall, cracking album, and that's a, you know, highly recommended. It's since been reissued with a couple of singles on CD, with a couple of singles and the aforementioned Fly High Fall Far EP as bonus cuts. Different cover on that as well, but this is the original. Yeah. If you want to explore Pendragon, this is as good a place to start as any. Pretty good. Okay, next up, we're going to stay kind of hippie proggy for the next couple as well, and we're having this one. This is Spacefolds 7 by Quark Space from 2001. There's the front. There's the back. Don't think, no, there's nothing in there, just a pretty standard disc sort of thing. Now, Quark Space, US space rock band. They're out of Ohio. I say band, they're more of a collective. I don't think these guys play live much. But I know that periodically, about once every year or two, they tend to go into a studio together, set up, and just jam. All the stuff on this album is basically improvised. Most of their stuff is. I do believe that once they've done the improvisation, they may go back over, do a bit of editing and a few overdubs, but the core of all their material is purely improvised, and by God these guys are good at it. I have several albums by Quark Space, not necessarily the complete set, but you know, so any one of sort of like 4 or 5 albums could have come out when I grabbed, and this was the one that did, and but it could be as good as any. Yeah, I said it's very hard to describe. It's very kind of, you know, almost like Hawkwind in there, in the more ethereal moments. Hints of maybe kind of King Crimson, Gong, Steve Hillage. That's the kind of wicket these guys are coming from. On track here, you got like that stuff. It's got the short tracks in there. They tend to flow one into another. You know, they're not ones you can turn around and go, "Oh bloody hell, that's a great track, that one. Oh, that one's not quite so good." It just, the way we listen to this album is late at night in a completely darkened room, and just shut your mind off and just kind of let the music engulf you. If I had to pick highlights off this, Appliances of the Gods is quite cool. Green Star Shooting, Black Star Rising, the opening cut. But overall, it's all pretty damn good. Yeah. These guys, they got their own website. They flock their stuff online. So, Quark Space from Ohio, Spacefolds 7. Cracking album if you like it, hippie trippy, and away with the space fairies. And I don't mean that in a bad way, guys. Okay, next up we're going to say prog. Yep, we're going to say prog. Grab this one next. This guy came out the other week and he's out again. Steve Hackett, and this is Out of the Tunnel's Mouth from, oh good grief, I can't see. Oh, hang on a minute. I have all the press releases in here. (2009). Now, yeah, massive press release there talking about him doing a one-off special gig with members of Porcupine Tree. Got a bit scuffed up on top there, this one. Anyway, here's the booklet. Steve being Mr. Hackett there. Just a track listing on the back of that one. It's mainly just lyrics in the book. Now, I say one of Steve Hackett's more recent albums, and probably along with Spectral Mornings, which we had on the show the other week, my favourite Steve Hackett record. And not just because I had the chance, when he toured this, I had the great chance of spending an hour or so in his presence having an interview with him. Although the interview only went on for about 25 minutes, and then we started just talking about railways and trains. Is a big bit of a railway buff, is Steve Hackett. Yeah. Anyway, this album's kind of was kind of inspired by a dream he had, where he was laying in bed and all of a sudden his wardrobe burst open and a steam train steamed across his bedroom, and that kind of sparked a creative thought, which turned out a year later in this album. Well, that's what the man told me anyway. But anyway, cracking track. My favourite cut on here is an instrumental called Tube Head, which is just what Steve Hackett can do with an overdriven Marshall valve amp and his trusty Les Paul, or is it SG, whatever he plays, I can't remember. But really kind of cranking the distortion up to the max and making it scream. Other tracks in there: Last Train to Istanbul, Fire on the Moon, Nomads, Emeralds and Ash. Everything's a bit of a winner. Corking album, not a weak moment on it. Yeah. If you want to try, if you've not heard Steve Hackett, it's a good album to start with. If you've lost contact with Steve Hackett, this is a good place to pick him up again. If you never heard it, yeah, just great album, highly recommended. Go listen to. Okay, next up, bit of vinyl. Now this is this week's Ultra Obscurity. Footprints on the Water by the Solid Rock Band. There's the front. There's the back. Open it up. Band pictures. And over here, lyrics and credits. Now, I mentioned a few episodes ago that I was brought up in a certain paramilitary religious cult called the Salvation Army, and so will this lot. The Salvation Army is probably musically best known for its brass band, you know, playing pleasant Christmas carols in the streets of the weekend, and sometimes waking you up on a Sunday morning by marching past, blasting out hymns at full volume. Yes, I was guilty of that in my day, but I left and have done my penance. But they've always kind of been sort of tokenistically kind of heralding more contemporary forms of music. Probably their best known rock band, or beat group as they called it, was probably the Joy Strings. Had a couple of minor hits back in the 1960s. There was a few others around at that time as well, the Harbour Lights, the Bill Booth Revival Machine, etc. And but come the late 70s, early 80s, they had two bands working out of Britain that were the Salvation Army's premier rock bands. You had a band called Blood and Fire, who were the black sheeps of the family. They were a bit heavy. They sounded a bit like Status Quo. And they had some interesting ideas. And then they came out of the south coast, out of Worthing, Brighton area. And this lot were from Gloucester. Now, this lot are soft rock. This lot are rock so soft, they make Toto sound thrash metal. I kid you not. When I brought this album, it was a complete shock to me, because I've seen the band live a couple of times, and yeah, they had that kind of Journey, Toto kind of AOR kind of stadium rock vibe going, but they could give it a bit of rice, they could lean on it a bit. However, a guy called Andy Kidd, who produced this album, Lord knows who Andy Kidd is, at least he wasn't a member of the band, has produced any fire this band has out of it, and and in result has an album which was a big problem with a lot of Christian rock throughout the 70s and early 80s. It's limp, it's sad, it has no fire, although it's relatively well played. I mean, these guys are fairly talented musicians. It's just forgettable, which is a shame, because like I said, these were nice guys, and live, yeah, I saw these guys live a few times, they could cut it, but on this, their one and only album, not really. Looking at the track listing, you've got 2 tracks on here. Well, actually, maybe 3. You got The Rocking Preacher, which is about a man proclaiming the gospel of Jesus through rock and roll. You got a really nice track called Roundabouts, which is, I don't know, it's a ballad. Most all this album's ballads, but that one's a little bit better. And then you got a cut called Face to Face, which was a cover version of a cut by a band I mentioned recently just now called the Bill Booth Revival Machine, another earlier Salvation Army rock band. And that is a good song. The song itself is great, although I've heard other Christian rock bands do it better than what these do. These kind of, again, it's all kind of sappy and yeah. But it's a shame because they were better than this album. Well, that's why I say that. You know, I'm not particularly into religion anymore, but I still do kind of quite like some of the music that I listened to back when I was in my late teens, mid-teens. So, but anyway, yeah, Footprints on the Water, solid rock band. This is going to be like hen's teeth to find should you be interested, but unless you're a real god botherer, I wouldn't recommend. Okay, next up, bit of this. This is Shadowheart by Kivimetsan Druidi. There's the front. Or is it Druidi? I don't know. I can't speak Finnish. No, nothing behind the disc. Nice, very nice artwork there, if you can see it. Now, that's it. Right, now, when did this album come out? He says, have we got 2008 this one came out. Don't know what else this band have done. This is the only record I've got by them. You know, and this one was sent to me as a promo. As what happens, you know, I get lots of stuff in. I can get over 100 submissions in a week. Mainly digital these days, but but you know, bands keep sending me stuff, and or even worse, when a record plugger or promotions company sends me stuff, and then the band change labels, change pluggers, I lose touch with them. Probably what happened to this lot. But anyway, this lot, as you can probably tell by their visuals on the front cover there, Finnish kind of folk death metal, blackened folk metal, whatever you call it. Very Viking, very oh yeah, up there, who burn your monastery type stuff. If I remember rightly, Kivimetsan Druidi means Druid of the Northern Forest or something like that, if I remember rightly. But anyway, it's a pretty good album. I've got a soft spot for a lot of that Scandinavian folk rock, folk metal kind of stuff. It kind of speaks more in a Druid and in a Viking. And this is a corking album. Some of it's sung in Finnish. You got cuts like Korpin Lalu, Mustan Vitikan Akai, Yasa Vermahut. I don't know what it means. They sing in Finnish as well. But, you know, I'm not one of these snobs that says it's got to be in English to be any good. Because I find that if you listen to stuff sung in a foreign language, a language you don't speak, yeah, you can write out the lyrics in Google Translate if you want to find out what they're on about. But it makes you concentrate on things like the vocal performance more. You're listening to the inflection in the voice. You're listening to the metering of the words, etc., how it fits in. And this is a great example. The girl singer on here, name is Lini Maria. She's got a set of pipes on her. She can give it rice. Then you got your archetypal male vocals backing it up. giving a lovely soundscape. Yeah, like I said, it's very, very heavy in places, but on the other hand, there are other bits where it's quite folky, because it's a folk metal band. My favourite cut on here, there's the say Corp in Lalu, and then a couple of tracks that sung in English, Halls of the Shadowheart and the Tyrant, all built-in tracks, but the overall album's pretty good overall, and one that if you want to check them out, go download it. I think it's still available. I think the band are still together. I may be wrong, but anyway, yeah, well worth a bit of investigation. Kivimetsan, Druidi, and Shadowheart. Okay, next up. Now, I dragged this one out on purpose. I found this the other day for personal listening pleasure, and I thought I'd drag it out because hopefully within a month or so I will have the new Blue Oyster Cult album to wave in front of you. But as a massive Oyster Cult fan, I'm psyching myself up for the release of the Oyster Cult their new studio album. Whoops, first one in Lord knows what movie camera there. First one in Lord knows how many years, and yeah, I don't know, you know. So, Club Ninja. Now, I chose this one because I saw one of these kind of albums ranked kind of by someone, I can't remember who it was, on YouTube the other day, or a couple of hours back. And basically, one of the guys on that channel gave this album the biggest unwarranted pasting I've ever heard. Said basically it wasn't worth the buying, it was pressed on. What an asshole. Now, I'll admit, when we think, oh sorry, there's the front. There's the back, and I'll admit it's not Blue Oyster Cult's best album cover. That much I will admit. And then you've got just the inner sleeve. Yeah, now this album came out in 1985. It was the one that Sandy Pearlman returned to the production helm after I'd done a couple of albums with Martin Birch and a few other people. And yes, okay, it's not Blue Oyster Cult's best album. By far means it's not their worst. I mean, I can't stand the Mirrors album that much. But, you know, this has more than its fair share of redeeming features. Yeah, it's got cuts like Beat 'em Up, but actually, come to think of it, there isn't really a Duff track on here. Go looking at it again, I was about to say there might be one or two tracks that are iffy. Beat 'em Up, maybe. Rock Not War, yeah, maybe not. But on the other, then you've got Shadow Warrior, When the War Comes, White Flags, Perfect Water, and then three which are in my all-time favourite Blue Oyster Cult album songs of all time. Madness to the Method, Dancing in the Ruins, and Spy in the House of the Night. Just, you know, this is Blue Oyster Cult dabbling in progressive rock. Maybe the bloke, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that was slagging this album off just wanted to hear Don't Fear the Reaper over and over and over again. Yeah, some people are like that, they have no taste. But anyway, I said this album is heading into prog rock territory in places, but keeping that Blue Oyster Cult sort of mystic heaviness. Yeah, I'd say Blue Oyster Cult were never extremely heavy, but they had a kind of dark vibe to them that, you know, makes them highly listenable to me. Yeah, have a quick look, and I think maybe in here, or maybe it's in here. No, I saw them live on the tour for this. Great gig. It's a Portsmouth Girls' School and State Trooper, if I remember rightly. But anyway, I thought I had the ticket stub still in here, but I haven't. Lord knows where that's gone. But anyway, Blue Oyster Cult, Club Ninja. Not the best Blue Oyster Cult album, but by no means the worst. and a worthy addition to any decent rock and roller's collection. Okay, the last CD for the day, Goth Classic Time, Bauhaus, In the Flat Field. I think this was Bauhaus's debut album. Let's go need a quick drink a minute. Yeah, I've got a pretty sure this is 1980. This was their debut album. Yeah, sorry. There's the front. There's the back. And the booklet is just lyrics. There is nothing else in the booklet at all. Oh, minor bit of album credits on the back there. Maybe the first ever proper goth rock album, although I don't think the term, this came out in 1980, and I don't think the term goth rock really developed for a few years after that. But anyway, cracking album, very, very dark. Yeah, if you've ever heard Bauhaus, you know tracks like Bela Lugosi's Dead, sort of Terror Couple Kill Colonel, etc. You'll know roughly where these guys are coming from. Overall, brilliant album. So I got into the, going back to the mid-80s, I got into goth and I started dating this goth chick, and you know, laying around at her place at night, candles burning, doing what you do when you're going out with a goth chick, and just listening to classic albums. And this was one of the favourites that was always on the turntable, the vinyl. Yeah. Liked it to the extent that I went out and brought a vinyl copy myself, and then a couple of years ago I found this, and because this version's got additional tracks on here. It's got things like the Telegram Sand single, the Terror Couple single, Scopes and God in an Alcove, all the singles that came out that weren't album release songs. Yeah, this is, yeah, I'd say probably one of the best goth albums that ranks up along with likes of Floodland by Sisters of Mercy, a couple of the Mission albums, as maybe the, you know, the best goth ever, you know, if you want to call it that. Highlights: St. Vitus Dance, In the Flat Field, God in an Alcove, my favourite Bauhaus track, Stigmata Martyr, Nerves, like I said. Then you've got the additional bonus tracks on here. Their version of T-Rex's Telegram Sand, pretty fucking brilliant. Cracking record. For those that are goth curious, check it out. And those of you that are goth, if this is not in your collection, you've got a big hole in your record collection. Yeah, Bauhaus, In the Flat Field, 1980. Stunning. And leads on to the last one for today. And we're wondering when this guy shows up. Bit of Gazamore. This is Run for Cover, 1985, was it? 85. Although this is a later pressing, which you'll see in a minute. There's the front. There's the back. And the inner sleeve of this, the Virgin mid-price range. There's a reason why this is I got the Virgin mid-price range edition of this rather than the original. A former flatmate of mine. But yeah, up until, you know, fairly recent in my life, you know, when I've actually found my missus and settled down, I share flats with various mates. And when it comes to record collections, you know, in the case of this, I was sharing it with an Irish guy called Paddy, massive Gary Moore fan. So consequently, there's no point in both of us buying a Gary Moore album. He bought the Gary Moore album, so I didn't. And then, as often happens, you know, when sort of like, so we're still mates with the guy. But when we went our separate ways, as life took us down separate paths, and he moved out, he took his records with him, leaving me with no Gary Moore, which can be a bit frustrating to someone that likes a bit of Gary whittling. So I went out and checked out, started to get some of the Gary Moore albums that I didn't have, and this one. If it's, like I said, I don't collect for the originality value or rarity. If anything, it falls under rare or that kind of thing. It's a bonus. I just collect for the music. Now, Gary Moore, amazing guitarist, providing he's playing metal or Celtic rock. I have no time for Gary Moore as a blues man. Nothing against him personally, but to me, a good blues guitarist should have soul and feel for the blues. You've got to feel the blues to play the blues. Unfortunately, Gary Moore, well, I'll be honest with you, I can't speak for all his blues albums because I gave up listening to after the first couple. But, you know, a nice blues song ruined by an explosive heavy metal guitar solo all over the top. No, Gary, no. Keep that to your heavy metal albums. Or play heavy metal if that's what you want to do. Don't spoil the blues by trying to be an atomic. I mean, apparently there's a story that when he was working with Albert Lee, they were warming up together and Gary Moore shredding and whittling over the place, and Albert Lee just walked up, pulled out his distortion, switched his distortion off and said, "Okay boy, now play." Yeah, don't know how true that is, but it basically sums up what me and a lot of people do feel about Gary Moore's blues work. However, I digress. Throughout the 80s, Gary Moore brought out a whole series of really good, originally kind of metal albums, but then kind of later went on, did a couple that were kind of more Celtic rock, and he was very good at them. This one, probably one of his most famous and most commercial ones from 1985. This is the one that's got the legendary Out in the Fields, which was the collaboration with Phil Lynott on it, and that's the other cut, Military Man, the other song they did together. Other tracks on here, so Run for Cover, Reach for the Sky, brilliant songs in their own right. A re-recording of Empty Rooms, which was on one of his earlier albums, and you know, one of these things have got to go, Gary, why? Because you've not added anything to the original recording, and if anything, the kind of slicker production on this album takes something away from the raw emotional heart jerk of the original. But never mind. If you're into Gary Moore, you can do these things. It's his music. I don't have to like it, because there's other bits. I said there's other things like Listen to Your Heartbeat, as I aforementioned, Out in the Fields, Once in a Lifetime, that do make this album worth listening to. Not my favourite of Moore's solo album, that's probably Corridors of Power, but it's not bad. Like I said, it's probably one of his more accessible of his metal era albums. So if you've not heard Gary Moore, proper Gary Moore, and not the sad attempt at a blues player that he became, this is where I'd start. Don't get me wrong, if you like Gary Moore as a blues man, fair enough. It's just that, to me, blues should speak to you, and you know, about things in the heart. Whereas like when Morsey plays the blues, he can sing the blues well, but when he comes in on the guitar, he tends to shout too much. So it's not blues for me. But anyway, if you like him, more power to you. So that's this way. So if you want to hear start exploring the metal Gary Moore, this is a good place to start. So that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. As always, I want to hear your feedback, your opinions. Correct me if I'm wrong about anything, or why should I? Well, try and explain to me what's good about blues era Gary Moore. Why did kind of a lot of sort of like most of the Christian rock in the 70s suck big time? All questions that need to be answered. We can maybe debate in the comments. Comments are down below there in YouTube. They're going to be over there on Facebook, and yeah, and also if you're down there, like and subscribe. It helps grow the channel. Not that I'm making money out of this. I've no intention of monetising, but you know, it gets the word around. And I'm here to talk about the love of music rather than anything else, and debate the, you know, musical love with other music lovers. So that's that. Until next week, peeps. Don't forget to check out the radio shows. Again, I'll put the links down there and over there. And until next week, peeps. I love you all, and I'm out of here. Bye.